mus. Štai ir mūsų meistras pasijungė. Turbūt
Hello.
internetas. Hello, Padma Vajrayana. Namaste.
Namaste. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. How are you?
I'm good. And you?
Nice. We're trying now in the moment connection, and people who in the moment work or in another place, they have possibility to show and say our video recording in our YouTube channel. That is today special who are live in the moment. We're waiting maybe waiting from Alina, but we can start when we have time.
Okay.
To start with.
Is everyone here, or should we wait for people to come?
We can little bit wait 2 minutes, but just 2 minutes and.
Okay. Sounds good.
Yes. If possible, I talk a little bit in Lithuania.
Please.
Speak about this project and our plans. Introduce. Tai aš sveikinu visus, kurie šiandien jungiasi su mūsų meistru Padma Vajra, kuris yra iš Nepalo. Tai yra nuostabi galimybė, šitas tiltas, kuris mus jungia, tiek su širdim iš tikrųjų jungia, pati idėja pasimokyti, išmokti, išgirsti mūsų meistro apie tradicinį budizmą. Tai yra iš tikrųjų unikali galimybė, nes šiandieną mes ir skaitome knygas, yra ir socialiniai tinklai, apie kuriuos mes tiesiog klausome, žiūrime, bet tai yra unikalu, kai galima tiesiogiai iš mokytojo meistro išgirsti vietos, kuris gyvena, kuris kvėpuoja to oru ir turi savo mokytojo eilę, savo gurų mokytojai, tai yra unikalu. Šiandieną dieną mes pasakojame vienas tą, ką jaučiame, ką interpretuojame. Tai aš labai kviečiu, kas, sakysim, nedalyvauja šiuo metu online, tai bus galimybė pasižiūrėti mūsų YouTube kanale ir didelė galimybė yra ir sekančias sesijas išgirsti, juolab, kad mes ruošiame didelę kelionę į Nepalą patį. Tai yra irgi unikali galimybė važiuoti vietoje ir su Padma Vajra iš tikrųjų tenais, kad jisai mus vestų, būtų vedlys, aprodytų tam tikras vietas ir papasakotų, padėtų mums išjausti tas vietas, kurios yra tūkstančiai metų tradicijų palikimas. Tai čia yra nuostabi galimybė. Tai mes gal ir galim pradėti, dar laukiame, kas prisijungs. Praeitą pamoką gal trumpai tokią suvestinę pasakysiu, kad jisai dėstė mums pačius pagrindus apie meditaciją. Buvo iš mūsų klausytojų, kurie paklausė, kas yra laimė. Kas yra laimė? Tai buvo labai gražus atsakymas, pažiūrėkite mūsų ankstesnį įrašą. Ir yra sekanti sesija šiandieną, mes sakysim, gal jau kas nors yra jau susipažinęs ir žino, kas tai yra, bet iš tikrųjų labai gera girdėti iš mokytojo, kuris savo žodžiais, savo energiją gali papasakoti apie tai. Tai tiek žinių šiandieną nenoriu iš eterio, kaip sakyti, užimti. Laukiame, kol pasijungs. Alina turbūt rašo taip, čatą prisijungia mūsų Irina. Yra irgi nuostabus meistras. Galite Namai Creator sutikti. Mes šitą įrašą įrašinėjom. Tai bus, nežinau, nuo kurio momento galėčiau aš čia tęsti, kol daug kas prisijungs, bet kadangi laikas yra mūsų irgi atitinkama energija, aš manau, kad mes galėtumėm pradėti. Taigi. Okay, I think, Padma, we can start, or we have recording, and time is our energy, so important.
Yes, absolutely. So first of all, I want to thank you everyone for taking out your precious time to join this seminar. I'm once again very happy and honored to be a part of this platform. So thank you so much for having me. And I just would like to express a lot of gratitude to you, to Alina, for making this happen. And it's a big joy for me to be able to transmit these teachings to people from different parts of the world, and especially in the Western world, in Europe, where I feel these teachings can play a big role in helping people and in connecting them with their own innate wisdom. So, those of you who were a part of my previous seminar, I think you are a little bit familiar with what I taught and how I taught. So, if not, I want to once again start this seminar by invoking the Buddhas, the gurus, my root gurus, teachers, so that this session may be fruitful for all individuals. So, at this moment, I will just join my palms together and do a prayer in order to invoke the blessings. Again, you'll get no jobs on Pema, Gezer, Dombo, Yodzin, Chogi, Negrin, Bema, June, Gezer, Don Cordu, Hundred, Humbever, Tiki, Gezer, Don, Jingi, Jingi, Dobje, Shizuzo, Guru, Bema, Zed, again, you'll get no jobs on Bema gezer dondola yanze çogin edene Bema cümle jezera vurdu vandı vandı vur yedi cezeda gönge cinge hopce jezuzo Guru Bema zede vurge gülge hopcanzam Bema gezer dondola Nyanzen jogi nerene Vema jome jezera Gorde vande vande Kingi jezera genge Jingi hobje jezuzo Guru bema zede Nejo dero jen boblo Drip cho dala vange Yego den bange Sangye chedan zage chognam la changje bade tane gyabzi je dage jenzo ge pezona Jala penche sangye jupare sho sangye chedan zage chodam la changje bade tane gyabzi je dage jenzo ge pezona Jala benche sangye jupare sho sangye chedan zage chodam la Jangje bade tane gyabzi je dage jinzo kibe sonange Jala benje songe jabare sho. Let's take a moment to absorb the blessings of the great masters of Buddha Shakyamuni, Guru Padmasambhava, the second Buddha. Just feel their presence and receive their blessings. So, in Buddhism, when we give teachings, I've also mentioned this in my previous seminar, but I'm happy to repeat it. Maybe there are some new people. So, even when we give any kind of teachings, any kind of lectures or seminars, whatever you might want to call it, according to tradition, it's very important to transmit the lecture or the seminar as a teaching, as a sacred teaching. So, that's why it's very important for the one who is teaching to invoke, to invite the masters of the lineage, so that they give us protection. They are also witness of the teachings that are happening. So it creates a sacred portal, so to speak. So now we are entering that portal, and then the transmission of the energies are going to be more profound, more special. So to begin this session with, it will be also a continuation of what I started teaching in the very first session, an introduction to basic Buddhist philosophy, to understand what exactly the Buddha taught and how we can really apply that in our lives. So just to give a recap of the previous seminar, I talked a lot about what the Buddha himself contemplated, who he was. That he started his life in a palace. He was a prince, who was destined to be a king of a great empire. But because of his own karmic connection for many lifetimes in his life, in that particular life, he was supposed to be fully enlightened. So even though he was born in a palace, which of course had its own meaning, it had its own karmic reasons, he was still destined to become one of the greatest philosophers, one of the greatest meditation teachers now that the world has seen, so that even though he was born 2,600 years ago, his wisdom, his teachings are still fresh. And these days, even many scientists and psychotherapists and all types of different scientific, studies, they're investigating what he discovered all those years ago. And why do they do so? The main point is that ultimately, Buddha's teachings, his core essence, the core message that he gave, it's free from dogma. It's free from any kind of like strict, um, like religious dogmatic rules. Of course, I'm not saying that there are no rules or no discipline. Of course, that's there. We have to be disciplined in order to achieve anything in life, even if you have to do a simple task. If you're doing a job and you have to perform a particular project, you have to be disciplined. You have to follow some rules. You also cannot just do whatever you feel like, and you can't get the result that you're looking for. So, similarly, in a spiritual path, I personally feel that our responsibility as practitioners is even bigger. That sometimes I hear this from people when they talk to me or talk to many traditional practitioners in general. There sometimes is this kind of underlying tension that when people want to approach a spiritual path, some people they feel that, oh, we should not follow any rules, we should do what we feel like, and there is no need to follow a teacher, there's no need to follow a master. So I hear those kind of things. So that's why I mentioned that even in our life, even in our day-to-day life, when we are using different rules, when we have to be disciplined. We have to have a system to perform anything in life. So how is it possible for a spiritual path, for a general spiritual path, to not have that system? Right? It's impossible. So that's why it's very important, no matter which tradition we are coming from, whether it's yoga or Kundalini or Buddhism or whichever traditions exist in the world, we will analyze that there is a system. We have to follow that particular system, because if we follow that system, it has specific rules, it has a particular discipline. And if we follow that, our minds are also more balanced, because the whole point, at least from a Buddhist perspective, the whole point to practice a spiritual discipline is to cultivate mindfulness. to cultivate some sort of inner discipline. Because if we analyze uh, our day-to-day life, we can see that oftentimes there's a lot of chaos, especially in the Western world. There's always something to do. People are always busy doing something, either it's their jobs or some responsibilities or
Mm.
social
Yes.
fulfillments, right? There's always lots of activities happening at all times. So, one of the main reasons why we practice a genuine spiritual path is firstly to find that inner peace, right? It may sound cliched, it may sound a little bit ordinary even, but we have to accept it. If there is no peace inside, we may think that we want to practice some very high spiritual technique. We want to practice some very deep level wisdom tradition. But if we don't have that natural sense of peace inside, we can't do that, right? So the very beginning of any spiritual path, any spiritual inquiry, I believe, in my opinion, is we need to cultivate some sort of inner peace. We need to have some stability, some relaxation of the mind. Otherwise, if we have our chaotic thoughts, if we have our disturbed emotions, and we go to our mat, whether it's a yoga mat or a sound healing session or a Buddhist meditation, we can't do it. We won't be able to sit in that session because the moment we sit, our thoughts are going wild, our body is feeling the tension, right? So we cannot focus. So, why am I sharing this and how is it related to what I'm teaching? Because in every spiritual path, especially in Buddhism, we have to cultivate the sense of ease, the sense of relaxation, the sense of peace before we start any spiritual practice. Because if our minds are tense, if our minds are heavy, if they're disturbed, it's difficult. Even if we are intelligent, we have a sharp mind, but if we are disturbed, it's not possible to do so. So, one of the most profound methods in Buddhist practice, also, I think certain yogic practices, before we begin any kind of meditation session or a teaching session, is that we try to sit straight and focus on our the central channel, like the main axis Monday of our body. And traditionally in Buddhist meditation practices, we exhale the stale breath. I think in some yoga traditions they do something similar. So those who are familiar, you can do that. So basically, we try to exhale the stale energy from our gut, not from our breath. Gut, we expel it from our mouth. So you can observe me like that. So just exhalation. So what are we exhaling? It's not just breath. So if it's possible, depending on your experience, depending on your um, capacity, you can visualize that as you do that, you're expelling all tensions, all mental difficulties, everything that's going on in your system right now. You probably had a long day at work with friends, family members, whatever it was. Maybe you have a lot of thoughts going inside your head, or body is feeling some kind of tension. So, this simple but effective technique helps in releasing all of that tension. So once again, we can sit straight, focus on the gut, and maybe we can do 5 exhales. So focus on your gut, bring the energy up. You can see how I'm filling it up, my chest. I'm filling up my chest from my gut, and sharp exhale. I'm leaving all the tensions, all the difficulties, whatever afflicted emotions are going on in my body, in my nervous system, I'm removing that. I'm making my body and my mind pure and relaxed. So you can have this kind of feeling as you do this exhalation. So we'll do it a few more times. Feel all the tension is released from your body. Just rest, relax, settle into your body, settle into the energy centers of your subtle body. Those who are familiar with yoga practices can concentrate on the different chakras, different energy centers of your body, and feel that they're all being relaxed, they're all being harmonized, settled. Feel that your body becomes light, relaxed, but at the same time alert, not too tight, not too relaxed, somewhere in the middle, gentle. Observe your natural breathing. Don't change anything. Don't fabricate anything. Don't fabricate your experience. Just feel your body and your breath as it is. Now, with this practice, we are prepared to receive the teachings. Our hearts, our minds have expanded, they've opened up. Then you might be feeling a sense of relaxation and alertness in your body. So, if you're feeling that, that's a good sign. It means that the practice has worked. So, why we do this in the beginning of any meditation session in our Buddhist traditions in the Himalayas, especially in my yogic tradition. So I would also like to talk a little bit more about that because in Buddhism there are different levels. So of course, since I'm just beginning to give the teachings, so I'm starting from the very basics, the fundamental aspects of Buddhism, but it has different types of levels, different types of layers. And typically, when people hear about Buddhism, they can imagine the Buddha, they imagine monks with shaved hair, with saffron robes. So that's one tradition. But there are also other traditions in Buddhism that are also very ancient and very profound. So my tradition is not monastic. I'm not a monk. I do not come from the orange or saffron robe tradition. That is a tradition that you often see in countries like Sri Lanka, Thailand, Myanmar, etc. So that's more of the orthodox or the exoteric Buddhist traditions called Theravada, Theravada school. Now, the tradition that I belong to is called as Vajrayana Buddhism, or in other words, Tantric Buddhism, esoteric Buddhism, the mystical aspect of Buddhism. So my direct lineage is not that of monastics, but it's of yogis. So unlike monks, we don't have to keep our hair shaved. In fact, we need to keep our hair long. We don't wear orange, we wear white or off-white colors. So there are different symbolism behind that, which I will introduce you guys as I do more seminars, especially the mantra seminar, which is the next one in line. So the point here is that in my lineage, specifically in my tradition, we are more focused on the direct experience, the direct practice of the mind, less on just philosophy. So in many of the monastic discipline, there is a lot of focus on intellectual studies, a lot of learning, a lot of philosophies, memorization of texts, so on and so forth. But in the yogic path that I belong to, it is called yogic for a reason. And if you're wondering if there is a connection with physical postures, yes, we also have physical postures in Tantric Buddhism, which are more on a advanced level. We also have physical postures that are connected with self healing. So there are different levels too. But when I use the word yogic or yoga in the context of Buddhism, it's a much broader concept. It's not only limited to physical postures. In fact, the term yoga is applied to meditation practices. That the yogi, now the term yogi is gender neutral. A yogi can be male or female both. In fact, in Sanskrit, the term is yogin with N in the end, which is a gender neutral term. Now, if you're referring to a gender, a male practitioner will be a yogi and a female would be a yogini. So that's how we can differentiate. But the main point is that with the word yoga, we are basically trying to unite with our own wisdom essence because the word yoga means union, as I'm sure we all know. I guess you have yoga classes. So, but in this context, in the Buddhist context, that union is not with some external entity, it's not with a creator God. Buddhism does not believe in a creator God. So the main yoga, the main act of union is happening with our own wisdom principle, which we can call the Buddha nature, which is inherent, which is inherent inside us. So basically, no matter which level of Buddhist practice we are doing, depending on their level, of course, but the ultimate point, especially in Mahayana or esoteric Buddhism, is to awaken our own wisdom nature as the Buddha. Now, in the Theravada tradition that we see in Sri Lanka, Myanmar, Thailand, etc., they have a different concept actually. So they don't believe that practitioners can become the Buddha. For them, Buddha was a human teacher. He gave them the teachings, but they are themselves not trying to become the Buddha. They always believe that Buddha is separate and they are separate. But in the esoteric Buddhist tradition, which I belong to, Mahayana Buddhism as well, the main concept is the biggest difference between this path and that of the exoteric path is we believe that all beings, no matter who they are, no matter where they come from, how they look like, and even beyond humans, because Buddhism accepts different types of realms, not just the human realm. All beings naturally have the Buddha nature. You can even call it, let's say, Buddha consciousness, for lack of a better word. So, what that means is that ultimately, the Buddha is not to be sought outside. This is a very important point that even though, yes, there was a human teacher, Shakyamuni Buddha, who came and he was born in Nepal, where I live, 2,600 years ago, and he attained enlightenment, gave teachings, and those teachings are being followed until now. So even though there was a human figure who came to this planet and taught the teachings, and there were other Buddhas even before him, in the in the Mahayana Buddhist tradition, we have a unique understanding. We believe that ultimately the Buddha is inherent inside us, that all the beings naturally have that essence. So it's not that only one person named Siddhartha, who was a prince at one point in time, and he left his kingdom behind and he practiced a lot of meditation, and one day he became Buddha. It's not possible for us. No. So, this is what I wanted to teach in this seminar. In the first seminar, I gave the basic explanations on who the Buddha was, what his life was like, what kind of meditations he taught, basically the Four Noble Truths, the Noble Eightfold Path, etc. So, the Four Noble Truths and the Noble Eightfold Path are mainly considered a lot with observation, observing life, observing the basic principles of life, as I've already mentioned about the dissatisfaction or the dukkha, which is the cause of all suffering, and then how does it arise, how does it stop. And the Noble Eightfold Path, especially, has a lot to do with living life in a better term, the kind of conduct to follow, the kind of approach, the kind of mindset that we should have. Now, those points are important because, as I said in the beginning, so now I will connect what I mentioned in the beginning, that we do need self discipline. If there is no self discipline, as I said before, we cannot succeed in any aspect of life. Forget about spirituality, right? If there's no self discipline, we can never be a successful businessman. We can never be a billionaire, even if you want to do that, right? If you don't have self discipline, if you lack motivation, if we lack the right methods, if we lack the right skills, we cannot achieve that. It's always just a dream, right? So, similarly, in spirituality too, we need to have that discipline. So, with the Four Noble Truths and the Noble Eightfold Path, the Buddha was being skillful, that he had to first explain to people that before we dive into this deep understanding, this deep philosophy that he understood and he wanted to teach others, it's first of all, it's important to have the right foundation. If we don't have the right foundation, then we can never, for example, if you want to build a house, right? So if there is no proper foundation, if there are no pillars and no structures, you cannot build a house, right? You cannot just make a roof without the pillars. It's impossible. The roof cannot stay. So, similarly, in every spiritual path, Buddhism included, we always need to have a foundation. So, the Four Noble Truths and the Noble Eightfold Path, especially, serve as the foundation. They are the building blocks on which then we further advance, we further go on. It's like climbing a ladder or going from one floor to the other. So, in the beginning, yes, we need to have a solid understanding, also an intellectual understanding of what the Four Noble Truths are about, the truth of suffering and how to seize that suffering. What is the method for that? Then the Noble Eightfold Path with the right intention, the right speech, etc. So once we have that, once we have thoroughly established ourselves on these methodologies, we will feel that naturally our minds, our body, our physical body, our minds, our speech are more balanced, are more harmonious. So we are not causing harm to oneself or to others. In the last lecture, we had a very in depth conversation, discussion on the topic of violence. So it is also very important on a spiritual path that we first stop being violent towards ourselves, in which I think Alina also had very beautiful points that she illustrated in the last seminar about. Um, Also, from a modern psychological perspective, that how we can stop being too critical about ourselves, how we can stop being too harsh on ourselves, how we can always, how we can stop that internal negative dialogue that, oh no, you're not enough and you can't do this and, you're not good for this, you're not good for that. So it's very important, I think, especially in the Western context, um, to have a more stable, relaxed mind. Because if these emotions persist, no matter which spiritual tradition we are trying to practice, it may not give us the right results because we have not been able to transform this negative self talk. So, the first stage, I think, is really identifying those points, to really identify, to offer a lot of love to oneself, especially if you feel that you are vulnerable, if you feel that you have those tendencies, if you have those characteristics, that you kind of make yourself feel that way. So it's very important to first contemplate on happiness. So even the Dalai Lama always talks about this point that, first of all, developing compassion towards oneself, having happiness for oneself is most important. Because if we don't have that, if we don't have self compassion, it's almost impossible to have compassion towards others, right? So, this is a very key point. So, all of this includes in the Noble Eightfold Path. So, before we jump into any kind of higher metaphysics or into mantra chanting or higher meditation practices, it's very important to first arrive at these very crucial points that, am I happy with myself? Even throughout the day, we can analyze, that. Was I compassionate? Was I kind towards myself and others? So we can examine that. We can keep rechecking. So also, these practices, the Noble Eightfold Path, especially, is not only limited to the mat. It's not just a practice that we do when we are in our practice space or our mats. We meditate for a few minutes, and after that, we go back to our normal life. It's much beyond that. So even in our day-to-day life, or not even, especially in our day-to-day life, we can observe. While we wake up, we set the intention, we set the motivation for our day, that this is how my day is going to be like. I'll be kind to myself and to others. May I indulge in the right speech? May I have the right motivation? May I have, non-violence, and so on and so forth. So these are principles that everyone can practice, basically. One doesn't really need to be a Buddhist practitioner to do that. That's, I think, also the beauty of these teachings of the Buddha, that they are indeed suited for everyone. So that's what he felt, that he was basically trying to present some foundational truths, that these are not connected to a particular sect or a particular religious idea or a dogma, right? These are beyond that. These are based on our humaneness, like our basic human characteristics that we have, which are innate to us, which are inherent to us. So kindness is a virtue. Kindness is natural to us. It's some compassion is something similar. So if we just focus on those qualities, even scientifically, it has been proven that it even improves your lifespan, it improves your health. The people who exhibit a lot of kindness and compassion to oneself and others, they would definitely have much more healthier lifespans than others. So if we start cultivating these mindset or mindsets, if I use that word, then we can see a shift in our thinking. We can see a shift in our perspective. And not only will we become more kinder and tolerant to ourselves, but we will also feel that the external reality, the people that we meet and the situations that we encounter, all those also become a lot more balanced. That even if there are some difficult circumstances in life, by applying the Four Noble Truths, by applying the Noble Eightfold Paths in those situations, we can also feel that we will be a lot more harmonious. And how? Because if you remember that one of the points I had mentioned in the previous teachings is impermanence, that one of the fundamental aspects of our life, of our existence, not only human existence, but existence in general, both animate objects and inanimate objects, is impermanence. That whatever has been born will die. The moment that is now, it will go. The moment that was in the past, it's in the past. We cannot go back in the past. We cannot bring it back. The moments that passed have passed. So, similarly, when we apply the notion, this deep understanding of impermanence to any situation, even in challenging circumstances, we will become a lot more relaxed. How come? Because we will feel that this moment will not last forever. It is challenging right now, but by focusing, by contemplating on the impermanence of that situation itself, we can be more at ease with ourselves instead of trying to control the situation. Now, the Buddhist teachings also say that if it's possible to control a situation, we can. We can try. But if it's not possible to control the situation, what's the point of wasting our energy on it? And when I say that, I do not mean that we just let go. We just don't make an effort. I'm not saying that. The point I'm trying to make here is that too much control, feeling that we must always be in 100% control of our external environment. If you will analyze it, you will understand it brings what the Buddha called dukkha, suffering, basically, right? Dissatisfaction. So you can even contemplate, then you can observe. And we try so hard externally to grasp onto a situation, onto a problem, onto anything, and we want to be controlling. But you will still see that even despite your efforts, you're not entirely in control of the situation at all times, right? Why is that? Because once again, the nature of all phenomena, all experience, the ultimate nature, the ultimate reality of all experiences is impermanence. That it's like, when we go out, it must be snowing in Europe, I think. So when you go out and you see snow, and the moment you try to grab onto that snowflake, it disappears into your hand, right? It's not there, it's not solid. So similarly, our experiences, the phenomena, um, external things are like that too. If you try to grasp something so strongly, we feel that we are grasping, we feel that we are controlling, but actually we are not. We're contributing to our suffering in that very moment. So that's why, just by the application of the Four Noble Truths, understanding where dissatisfaction, dukkha, suffering, whatever term you are comfortable with, arises from, why does it arise, and if it arises, how we can put an end to it by the application of the Noble Eightfold Path, we will feel that ultimately our minds become more harmonious, our minds become more stable. We are more attuned to the experiences that will come. The other point that I would like to mention here is that according to the Buddhist understanding, there is also no ultimate, like everlasting happiness in samsaric existence, that of course there is happiness, but when we start grasping onto it too much, then that's also a cause of suffering. So things will not always work out perfectly in samsaric existence. And once again, this is not coming from just a philosophical or a religious dogma. Once again, like in the last session, I encourage you all to contemplate what I just said, that if you really investigate, if you really examine life around you, your own experiences, the experiences that other people have shared with you, your own friends, your own family members, you may not find experiences wherein there was like 100% happiness all the time, right? You will not find that. I think it's just simply not possible because that's just the nature of life. It's also impermanent. If there is happiness, there will be dissatisfaction. If there's dissatisfaction, happiness will follow right after that. So that's why Buddha and the other great Buddhist teachers who came after him, they were more in search of genuine happiness, not happiness that comes only from some external sources, like buying something expensive or, getting oneself some kind of like present or anything of that sort. It can give us some happiness, but it's temporary, and after a time, even those things that once gave you happiness, you might get bored with it, right? I gave the example of tea in the last seminar. So that's why in the Buddhist traditions and in all Dharmic traditions, the main focus has always been finding that joy or natural happiness that we have inside. That if we have that vast ocean inside, we would not have to grasp too much on external events. Now, it's not to say that we must not enjoy what is outside. I'm not saying that either. It's more about a balance that if we find that reservoir of joy, of happiness inside of us, this true wellspring of happiness, this radiance inside of us, we will feel that even, in certain unpleasant circumstances, in certain difficult circumstances, we would not be that disturbed because we have discovered and we are aligning with the natural sense of joy, with the natural sense of happiness that comes from inside. So, once again, this can be achieved by the true, honest application of the Four Noble Truths and the Noble Eightfold Paths as well. Now, proceeding from there, these teachings, in summary, they represent what is called as the Theravada path, which is practiced in countries like Sri Lanka, Myanmar, the examples I already gave. And after that level comes the more profound level of Buddhist teachings, which are called the Mahayana. So first level is Theravada, which encapsulate the Four Noble Truths, the Noble Eightfold Paths as well, and different techniques such as calm abiding meditation, which I demonstrated in last seminar, which is called Shamatha practice, and Vipassana practice. That's the culmination of the meditation practices in Theravada. But then we arrive at the next level of Buddhist teachings called as the Mahayana. So the Mahayana itself is a combination of two words in Sanskrit, Maha plus Yana. Maha means great or something big, huge, and Yana means vehicle. So the term Yana or vehicle has been metaphorically used to describe different Buddhist traditions. So sometimes Theravada is also called as the Hinayana, meaning the lower vehicle or the first vehicle, because it was the first set of teachings that were given by the Buddha. Now it is believed that the Buddha gave teachings to people according to their capacity. This is also very fascinating because, once again, as I said before, that the Buddha was more focused on the truth, but he also understood that truth may not be the same for every individual, right? Because every individual is unique in their own way. They have their own taste, they have their own preferences, they have their own levels of understanding. So, in this case, the Buddha, being a very skillful teacher, he understood that there needs to be different levels of teachings for people of different capacities, for people of different levels of mind, different karmic understanding. So, for a certain type of people who prefer more self discipline, who prefer morality and contemplation, he gave the teachings on Theravada. Now, it is said that for those people who had a little higher capacity, higher understanding, and those who had a lot of compassion, for them, he gave what is called as the Mahayana teachings. And the Mahayana teachings are what is preserved in Nepal, in Bhutan, in Tibet. So basically, all Himalayan nations, wherever Buddhism is practiced, it's of the Mahayana. So Vajrayana or Tantric Buddhism is a branch of Mahayana. So Mahayana is the root tradition, and Vajrayana is the branch or the highest tradition of the Mahayana. So, what is so special about Mahayana and why is it called as such, meaning the great vehicle? So, in this particular school or Buddhist tradition, if you want to call that term, it is believed that unlike in the Theravada tradition, so in the Theravada path, practitioners typically focus on the Four Noble Truths and Noble Eightfold Path for themselves, for one's own self development in a way. But in the Mahayana path, the whole idea shifts to a much bigger scale, meaning that practitioners, the meditators, the yogis, and yoginis of the Mahayana path, they have the natural understanding that the practices that they are doing, that they will do, will be to benefit all beings. So that's the difference. So in the Theravada path, the focus is more on the individual, the practitioner. So it's also called as Pratyeka Buddha or solitary here. So there are different terms, technological terms. I won't go much into those details, but in simple differences that in the Theravada path or the lower vehicle, the focus is more on the individual. But in the Mahayana, even though, of course, the practitioner is working on himself or herself, but at the same time, there is this higher consciousness at the same time that no matter which meditation practice I'm undertaking, no matter which mantra I am chanting, may this mantra, may this meditation practice benefit all beings, all sentient beings, irrespective of who they are, irrespective of whether I even know them or not. So this was a big step forward in the Buddhist philosophy, so that's also why it is called as the Mahayana, the great vehicle, because it emphasized on the compassion of course, for oneself, but compassion for all sentient beings. Why so? Because in this case, the great masters of this particular school, they understood that all beings are also searching for genuine happiness. Nobody wants to have suffering. Nobody wants to have dukkha. But because they don't understand the true nature of things, they still indulge or engage in activities that unfortunately cause suffering instead of happiness. So, motivated by this great wish to help and to benefit sentient beings, Mahayana practitioners practice a much higher ideal. So they even make a vow which is called as the Bodhisattva vow. So from here on, we are entering the Mahayana path. So the Bodhisattva is a practitioner who has vowed to benefit all sentient beings. So when we enter the formal Buddhist path, when we go to a Buddhist guru, a lama, it could be a monk or a tantric yogi, doesn't matter. When we first go to them, when we first approach the teachings, we take some vows. We make some promises, basically. So, of course, we take refuge, we seek protection in the Buddha, the Dharma, his teachings, and the Sangha, the spiritual community of practitioners. That's the Theravada level. Now, at the Mahayana level, there is an additional vow, an additional promise that is called as the Bodhisattva vow. The Bodhisattva promise means that may I never forsake sentient beings. May I never forget sentient beings. May I always, no matter in which situation I am, may I always cultivate loving kindness, compassion towards all sentient beings. So this is an essential vow. If we don't have this vow, we cannot practice Mahayana. And if we don't have this vow, we can especially not practice the Vajrayana, the higher tantric teachings. So that's why this is a very crucial point in today's seminar. So the Bodhisattva ideal basically changed the whole paradigm of Buddhist practice, that it started putting more emphasis on, of course, on oneself was there from the beginning, but more emphasis on sentient beings, that all beings deserve suffering. Deserve happiness. Nobody deserves suffering. So may I be the cause of happiness for the sentient beings. May all sentient beings experience genuine happiness. May they never experience suffering. May they be free from the causes of suffering. And most importantly, may they live in impartiality beyond attachment and aversion. So these four ideals comprise of one of the most important practices of the Bodhisattva called bodhicitta. Another important topic for today, bodhicitta. So bodhicitta is a Sanskrit word that comprises of two syllables, two words actually, bodhi plus chitta. So bodhi, I think this term is a little familiar to you guys. Bodhi and Buddha, they're similar. So basically, bodhi is a very profound term that means awakening or enlightenment. And chitta refers to the mind. So, in combination, this very important term, philosophy or practice, refers to the mind that generates awakening, the mind of awakening, the mind of enlightenment. And how exactly is it practiced? It is practiced by the four lines I mentioned, the four immeasurables, that we feel that may all sentient beings be happy, may all sentient beings be free of suffering, may all sentient beings be free from the causes of suffering, and may all sentient beings be free from partiality, go beyond attachment and aversion. Now, this fourth ideal is quite important. So it says that according to the Mahayana principle, we believe in, in a sort of like equality, in the sense that we believe that all sentient beings, no matter who they are, no matter what their background is, they all deserve happiness. Everybody has the inherent Buddha nature, the Buddha wisdom. So in that case, it is unfair to think that some people deserve happiness, others don't. So we must only give love and compassion towards one type of people, and to the other type of people, we should ignore them. So this principle is completely removed on the path of the Bodhisattva, on the Mahayana path. So that's where it's distinguished from other traditions, wherein there is a lot of emphasis on how we can even shift our focus from self grasping to benefiting others. Because, as I've already demonstrated in the previous seminar, one of the core teachings of the Buddha is that most of the suffering that we experience come from self-grasping, meaning that when we are too fixated on our own happiness, to the point that we totally ignore the needs of those around us. I mean, forget about sentient beings, but sometimes we may even forget the needs of our immediate family members, like our spouse, our boyfriend, girlfriend, our parents, whatever, right? Sometimes we can be too fixated on our own egocentric uh, understanding of happiness. So, these teachings, these profound meditation practices, these contemplations are a direct antidote to these feelings, to our egocentric behavior. Because if we have egocentric behavior, then you can understand that it itself is a cause of suffering. It itself is a cause of pain and dissatisfaction for oneself and especially others. So that's why the Bodhisattva path, which comprises of the most profound meditation on bodhicitta, is crucial to pacify or to transform self fixation, self centric, egocentric ideals at all times, and to think about the welfare of other sentient beings. And through this principle, through this ideal of bodhicitta, it is believed that true enlightenment, true attaining of realization is possible. If this key point, the key point of bodhicitta, is missed out on, then enlightenment is also possible. And especially all the advanced tantric practices, they lose their meaning. That's why in the tantric path, in the path of mantras and higher meditations, bodhicitta is always emphasized upon. If we have not generated bodhicitta, it is quite possible that we may misuse those advanced higher practices, or we can even misunderstand those practices, and instead of benefiting us, those same practices can probably even harm us. So that's why the bodhicitta ideal is considered so crucial, and it also has different levels. So one important ideal of bodhicitta is aspiration bodhicitta, and the other is application. So one is aspiration and the other is application. Aspiration is when you are sitting on your mat, for example, and meditating on this deep love, kindness, and compassion, and you make this sincere aspiration. You can think about all the sentient beings, you can think about people for example, if a friend who is going through a difficult time, then you can think about that friend and genuinely cultivate this sense of compassion that, you know, may he or she be completely relieved from that suffering. May he or she not experience that challenge or that obstacle in their life. So that's more like aspiration, that it's more like an imagination. You are feeling, your visualization practice is happening there. It's also very important because without that, if we don't have even that sincere wish coming from within, even performing the real act of bodhicitta is quite hard. So in the beginning, it's very crucial. It's very important to train in aspiration bodhicitta. When we sit on our meditation and we perform the meditation practice, and we can start thinking about sentient beings. You can think about your parents, mother, father, friends. You can start from there, and slowly you can start expanding your field. You know, think about even people you don't know, and just feel that they're surrounding you. And as you are in that deep contemplation, contemplate on those sentient beings. And it doesn't necessarily have to be only human beings. You can think about animals, you can even think about invisible beings like spirits or any such kind of entities, and feel that whatever suffering those beings are going from, may their sufferings be pacified. May they experience genuine happiness, so on and so forth, in your meditation, right? So, this is called aspiration bodhisattva. Now, the next level, application bodhicitta, as the name might suggest, means actually performing some activities to benefit beings. So that could involve different things. For example, if you're trying to help a friend in need, or um, if you see, even especially now, we can try to help our friends. So an important point I would like to mention here is that, again, from the Buddhist perspective, we are often attached to ourselves and our possessions, right? So when we talk about possessions or attachments, that also includes our friends, that also includes our family members, and in most cases, we will readily be able to help our friends. But bodhicitta practice goes even beyond that. As I said, that it's not about whom we are related to. It's not only about whether we know someone. So if you see someone suffering, on the street or wherever, if you see a suffering animal, and if it's possible for you to stop by and provide some comfort to the being or the animal, in case of an animal, if you can take your precious time out and perhaps take the suffering animal to a vet or to a hospital, to an animal hospital, depending on their situation, then you're actually applying that compassion. So it's compassion in action, right? So there is one compassion that is done on your meditation mat where you are visualizing benefiting those beings. And then the other act of compassion, the other act of generating the mind of awakening, is actually engaging in compassionate service, in compassionate action. And it also involves many things. It involves protecting people from fear. Somebody is going through a very harsh situation. If you give them comfort, if you give them that love and that genuine kindness, then you're also protecting them from that situation. So that's more of the application bodhicitta. Now, there is another level here which is referred to the ultimate aspect of bodhicitta. Now, the ultimate aspect of bodhicitta is connected with the realization of one's own Buddha nature itself. So it can only be achieved if we have this true sense, this altruistic sense of love, kindness, and compassion for all sentient beings. So at this moment, I would like to take a small break, and we can just do firstly a small meditation based on the bodhicitta aspiration I just mentioned. And after that, we can take some break, maybe a few minutes to drink tea or to use the washroom, so on and so forth. So for a moment, we can relax in our seats, cushions, and just try to generate the bodhicitta feeling from inside, thinking about sentient beings, friends, you can start with them, relatives, family members, whoever can come to your mind naturally. Start with them. Then slowly start expanding your field of awareness. Actually, in this meditation in bodhicitta, we are also supposed to have compassion for our enemies, but depending on your capacity, depending on your own level of consciousness, it's up to you whether you feel comfortable to think about that or not. If you feel that you can, then it's of course best to also extend that compassion even towards the enemies. You can even feel as you visualize, may all sentient beings be happy. May they be free from suffering, dissatisfactions, displeasures, and the causes of that suffering, of the dissatisfactions. May they abide in the impartiality, believe in the equality of all that lives. May they go beyond attachment and aversion, one of the root causes of suffering. If you have any friends or family members who are going through a difficult time, and especially think about them at this time. Send them your love, compassion, end of the session, you can feel that through your bodhicitta aspiration, ascension means you thought about, you meditated upon, their sufferings have pacified, and they're all, including yourself, they're all attaining liberation, they're all attaining enlightenment. at the end of the session, we can take a small break, a few minutes, take your time, take some tea or use the washroom, and then we'll resume afterwards.
Всем добрый вечер, кого не видели. Сейчас пару минут, если кто-то хочет попить чай или отлучиться. Или, Юрата, если есть желание, мы можем с тобой пока использовать эту паузу и поделиться впечатлениями об информации, которую дал Падма, и о медитации. Скажу пока от себя, что после практики очень приятные чувства. Это очень распространенная практика, которую дают мастера и в Непале, и в буддизме, и в очень многих других традициях. На самом деле для нее абсолютно не нужно многого времени. Конечно, как мы говорили с первой сессии, вот, Юра, ты поделишься своим ощущением, что мы можем транслировать только то, что в нас есть. Но даже если мы до конца не наполнены ввиду ситуации мира, самоощущений, ситуации нашей жизни, нашего здоровья, каких-то полноценных тех чувств, любви, ощущений, моментов, то даже дав себе возможность побыть несколько минут и наполниться ими, то мы уже настраиваем себя на эти волны, на эти частоты, на эту энергетику, потому что мы позволяем ей быть в нас. И, соответственно, из этого состояния мы можем делиться и с миром, и с другими. И, как говорил Падма, что если кто-то вокруг вас, да, это может быть и близкие люди, могут быть совершенно незнакомые люди, может быть семья, может быть любой человек, который, возможно, нуждается сейчас в какой-то поддержке особой или внимании, то достаточно в этой практике, в этой медитации просто представить этого человека, подумать о нем, да, послать ему то, что вам хочется ему передать. И в любом случае, в том или ином виде в мире оно обязательно дойдет. Вот, Юра, ты, если хочешь, поделись чем-то со своей стороны, на литовском, на русском, как тебе хочется.
Я сперва, может, по-русски. Даже вот после паузы мне очень трудно как-то говорить
Да, мне
вот
тоже.
слова. Я просто как бы хочется поделиться, но очень трудно говорить, потому что очень сильно в сердце, ум и сердце, душа, как бы такое объединение есть. И намерения, вот эти, мне очень тоже понравилось, что Падма сказала о воле очень много. Это как бы очень важно. Да, я тоже вспомнила свои практики, свое каждый день. Эта воля везде нам нужна. И именно вот спокойствие внутри обязательно нам нужна воля, чтобы найти время для себя, дыхание, чтобы концентрироваться, найти друзей, с кем поговорить, и учителей. Эту волю обязательно надо нам, ну, как можно сказать, двигать.
А как ты вообще считаешь,
Очень.
вот для тех, кто будет нас слушать, что дает вообще вот это время с собой? Вот эти даже 5, 10, 20, 30, у кого есть времени, люди называют это медитацией, да, но на самом деле, что такое медитация? Это вернуть себе себя. То есть мы во внешнем, у нас много дел, мы живем материальной жизнью, физической, у нас есть семьи, друзья, проекты, реализации, какие-то увлечения. Что вот это за ощущение? Как можно описать людям, которые, возможно, еще не пробуют или переживают, что у них не получится? Что это такое? Что это может им дать? Вот просто хочется чуть-чуть им рассказать, как ты считаешь.
Ну, я считаю, я сама медитирую давно уже, потому что уже Надо, надо. Это, если так коротко сказать, это спокойствие внутри, ты слышишь себя, это концентрация энергии. Это важно. Это каждый и спортсмен скажет, каждый художник скажет, это концентрация мысли, энергия, это дает результаты. Это как бы это течение, это соединение мысли, ума, сердца, тела. Это сразу так, не знаю, как другим, но по опыту мне оно соединяется. Оно соединяется, и ты
Пока говорила,
понимаешь,
было так красиво, прости, что перебила, что
нет,
я сейчас в
да,
моменте ощутила, вот ты когда говорила про художников, да, вот про разных людей, это и есть, по сути, энергия творческая, потому что через нас, как через людей, идет определенная энергия, это поток. Кто-то называет это предназначением, кто-то называет своим путем, кто-то называет своими навыками, либо вот своей истинной какой-то
да,
натурой, индивидуальностью. По сути, это же и есть творческий поток, потому что любой человек, который творит, будь то музыкант, будь то писатель, будь то художник, будь
все,
то кто угодно, это же как раз и есть медитативное состояние, которое они
да,
описывают, откуда рождается какая-либо картина, откуда рождается какое-либо произведение, какой-либо звук
да,
или шедевр. По сути, это та же самая медитация. Что это такое? Это очень простыми словами. Это момент, когда ты находишься в себе. То есть ты не находишься во внешнем, ты не находишься в мыслях ума. Ты даешь возможности услышать себя. И для меня вот медитация, я не скажу, что я человек усидчивый, хотя это зависит в
да.
разные промежутки времени, что вот какая-то прямое понимание медитации, когда людей сажают на час, на полчаса. Падма, намасте. Just a few words. We're discussing a bit about the meditation to give the people a bit idea what is it just for their mind, like a small instruction. И раньше я была тем человеком, который такой вот медитация, но это так долго, у меня нет на это времени, я же реализованная женщина, у меня же тут проект, тут бизнес, тут личная жизнь, тут много всего,
Да.
когда вот это все делать. И на самом деле я просто в процессе медитации, там часто бывает, я не чувствую, что я должна закрывать глаза. То есть я не чувствую, что я должна особо лежать или быть в какой-то позе. Очень часто люди задают вопросы, как правильно. И, например, когда их задают мне, я говорю правильно так, как вы ощущаете. Самое основное– это просто возможность побыть собой. Если вы не можете побыть физически, у вас нет отдельной комнаты, да, у вас большая семья, то хотя бы можете одеть наушники, включить любую музыку, которая вам импонирует, и просто побыть с собой хотя бы там 3, 5, 10 минут. Что это дает? Вы возвращаетесь в себя. Почему многие люди слушают даже музыку, слушают звуки, ходят на саунд-хилинг, на Namai, либо да, к нашим мастерам, либо к другим мастерам, ходят на гонги, ходят на любого вида музыкальные процессы, на оперу, на что угодно. Они ходят даже в галерее, чтобы смотреть картины. Это момент, когда ты с чем-то, с каким-то
Да.
объектом, и ты просто находишься с собой, то есть ты не находишься в водовороте ума и как бы вот этих всех ментальных наших вечных переживаний, мыслеформ, каких-то дел. И что это дает, самое главное для меня, ты начинаешь лучше слышать себя, то есть как будто ты просто убираешь внешний мусор. То есть если вы ничем не занимаетесь, никакими практиками, ни йогой, ни дыханием, банальные, просто обычные рекомендации, которые хочется дать в этом нашем выпуске, это просто хотя бы 3, 5, 7, 10 минут, как вам хочется, постараться волей усадить себя и действительно отключить этот мозг. Почему дыхание? Да, потому что ты переключаешь внимание из мозга, из ваших текущих дел, там, задач, что мне нужно сделать в обычной жизни, просто на себя и на свое состояние. И именно в этом состоянии творят творцы. Что это значит? Рождается, еще раз говорю, картина, рождается статья, рождается стих, рождается музыка, рождается идея, рождается что угодно, потому что во внешнем шуме фактически мы это услышать не можем. То есть для меня медитация, очень простыми словами, это возможность побыть собой и услышать свою интуицию, которая у нас есть и которая ввиду нашего ума очень часто бывает забита. Вот Просто сейчас, когда ты говорила про художников, пришло такое осознание, потому что все описывают это именно так, что это поток. Это не я создал произведение, это не я создал картину, это не я создал рассказ, это было через меня. Это не я открыл таблицу Менделеева, просто она мне пришла. Это пришло как осенение. И когда оно пришло, когда у кого-то во сне, у кого-то в процессе творения, когда ты максимально находишься наедине с собой, то есть когда нет вот внешних других действий, потому что когда вот мы с тобой часто обсуждаем, как только мы выходим за порог своего пространства, либо своего дома, либо неважно чего, то наша энергия, она все равно уже распространяется на всех, с кем мы волей-неволей либо связаны, либо взаимодействуем. И мы можем априори ощущать вот это то, как наша энергия утекает, при том, что мы можем ее даже сохранять в себе, потому что у нас есть связь с нашим проектом, с нашим партнером, с нашим мужем, с нашим ребенком. И даже если они не находятся в поле нашего зрения, либо ты знаешь, что они находятся в школе, да, все равно вот эта невидимая связь твоего контакта, да, то есть туда уходит энергия. И то, о чем говорил сегодня Падма, мы не можем как бы быть всегда, опять же, перманентно счастливы, так же, как можем выбрать не быть несчастливы, да, долго, потому что все это просто временные
Да.
чувства и состояния. Но стоит ли тратить столько энергии, подпитывая что? Подпитывая какое наше состояние? Состояние несчастья, состояние проблемы, состояние грусти, либо стоит волей действительно заставить себя переключить во всех ты знаешь, думаю, и в ведах, и учениях говорится, просто сделай действие, хотя бы одно действие,
Обязательно, да,
заставь
обязательно.
себя выйти из дома, заставь себя включить песню, заставь себя вот этот момент, когда тебе кажется, что ты ни на что не способен, тебе ничего не хочется, потому что ты уже выбрал вот эти страдания, эти переживания, эту тревогу, и чтобы тебя выбить, либо жизнь должна выбить тебя каким-то событием, потому что жизнь, она мудрая, она хочет, чтобы ты вернулся к себе, чтобы ты себя не разрушал, чтобы ты себя сохранил, и, соответственно, ей нужно как-то тебя вернуть из этих состояний. Поэтому медитация для меня это очень просто, и когда люди тоже, вот один из мастеров, за которым я долго слежу, я не назову его сейчас, но если кому-то будет интересно, они могут написать в комментарии, если я вспомню, я поделюсь, который практикует конкретно медитации, он очень часто отвечает на вопросы людей о том, что когда они спрашивают, ну, у меня не получается медитировать, у меня поток мыслей, у меня постоянно, я не могу
Бывает.
сосредоточиться. Что это значит? Это просто первичный внешний шум. То есть вы настолько далеко от себя настоящего там, что это просто первично, да, что у вас постоянно в голове, и вы можете быть свидетелем этого. Это не плохо, не хорошо, это просто факт. И хотя бы через вот этот процесс побыть собой, вы перерабатываете вот эти вот как бы эмоции, состояния вашей жизни, вашу тревожность, какие-то моменты более осознанно, потому что как только вы выйдете, там, даже послушав 5-10 минут музыку, я не говорю даже про мантры, что вообще прекрасно, но даже просто музыку, неважно, классическую или вообще просто вашего любимого певца, вы почувствуете, что вы возвращаетесь другим. То есть вы как будто из этого мира возвращаетесь вот в этот мир. Да, что это значит? Вы были в другом месте. То есть ключевое уйти из ума, потому что задача ума — это постоянный рабочий процессор, согласись со мной, который постоянно говорит о том, что у нас куча дел. Нам нужно постоянно анализировать, нам нужно постоянно спешить, нам нужно постоянно решать, нам нужно постоянно все контролировать. Хотя
Да.
никто на самом деле внутри нас этого не говорит и не хочет. Мы все пытаемся замедлиться, мы все пытаемся найти ответ на самый главный вопрос: как получать счастье. Это очень элементарный вопрос и очень элементарный ответ. В каждодневном выборе этого счастья. Попить чай, увидеться, остановиться, посмотреть, что хочешь, выйти, подышать воздухом, поблагодарить кого-то, послушать пение птички, посмотреть на новогоднюю елку или неважно, что тебе хочется. То есть каждодневный выбор. Мы все очень из-за ума такие грандиозные в плане масштабности. Нам кажется, что мы должны чего-то очень усиленно достигать, чего-то очень объемного и очень большого вообще в плане каких-то действий. Но на самом деле счастье находится только в простых вещах, которые мы можем выбрать каждый день. Ни в чем другом его на самом деле нет. Это очень такое долгосрочное счастье, которое мы выбираем, что я буду счастлив тогда, когда я закончу проект, я построю дом, я не знаю, я там найду любимого человека, я рожу ребенка, которого хочу. То есть это не выбор счастья в моменте сегодня. И вот этот момент побыть собой, мне кажется, что дает возможность любому человеку вообще хотя бы услышать, о чем я на самом деле думаю, какие на самом деле у меня есть желания или вопросы. Может быть, я не хочу сейчас идти и варить борщ, я не знаю, я хочу выйти и пройтись 15 минут. Как ты считаешь, вот что было бы еще полезно услышать нашим слушателям?
Да. Я бы еще добавлю, вот как с художником, так мне сейчас услышала вопросы. Вот когда есть вопросы, когда начинаются вопросы в жизни, что такое любовь, что такое счастье, кто я, что я сделаю, почему не так, почему не, ну, почему, кто, вот эти вопросы, и есть ответ тоже внутри, и в медитациях очень это можно услышать от себя вот. Вопрос-ответ, вопрос-ответ. Да, Падму приглашаем.
Padma, we're ready to continue or just discussing, just describing, because we're trying all the time our session, accept the knowledge you give us every time. We try to give some simple advices for the people, very simple, just to give the idea, because usually people think that something is very hard. You need to practice, you need to do, you need to take time, because for now the main value is a time, energy, resource, but it's a time. That's why we're all choosing what to do, where to spend this time. So this is the currency, the main currency, not euro, not dollar, not something. The currency is your time, what we choose to do. So we're just trying to give people a small idea that the meditation could be very different. When you want to go deeper at the levels you were telling, it's the levels like school, like the knowledge. But just the first, just very small, just give your time to sit with yourself, at least just to sit with yourself and to return back to yourself. So we're just discussing this for the people who can understand us in another language, and maybe it will help us. So we're ready to continue to listen. I think we have at least like 20, 30 minutes in order not to make it very long for the people.
Yeah, thank you for saying that point. And initially, I think before you joined in, I was also talking about how the Four Noble Truths or the Noble Eightfold Path, those practices, those teachings, philosophy, whatever term you might want to use it, it's not only limited to your mat. It's not something that we should just do while we sit in our sacred space with our candles or incense, but it's something that we can really think about, as you said, about time, right? So in every aspect of our life, this is the real mindfulness is this, right? These days, the term mindfulness has been overused actually, but what exactly does it really refer to? To just be aware of the basic principles, no matter what we are doing, right? To be alert in whichever circumstances we are while interacting with people, for example, be it their friends or our family members. What is our speech, for example? Are we engaging in the right speech? What is our intention? Do we have the right intention? So on and so forth. So even in like different aspects of life, if we just become more conscious, so it's more to do with like creating a conscious way of living. If I explain it in other words. Now, when it comes to more deeper realizations, and of course, we do need to have formal sitting practice, with a proper teacher and proper instructions. That's of course different. I agree with you, but some of these points I think still we can try to embody in our day-to-day life, because oftentimes I feel that it's not just in Buddhism, but in many practices, people may have incredible results. They may have very powerful meditation or a healing session, but once they leave that session, they return to the ordinariness, right? Then you talked about time. So I feel that then that whole time was wasted. What for, right? So the main point is the post meditation. What comes after your session? Like how, if let's say we meditate 10 minutes, 15 minutes on an average, but we have still 23 hours, 45 minutes, 2 hours a day. How are we utilizing that time? Have we been kind towards ourselves, towards others? What have we done for ourselves and others throughout that time, right? So if we just become a little bit more conscientious about what we are doing and how we are, behaving with ourselves and others, I think it's all spiritual practice, throughout how much we can do throughout the day. So it definitely adds to your point.
Yeah, that's
So
such,
now,
I think, important topic that you are just now telling. Because me personally, Yurata, in our school, we usually even give this information for the students, for the people, that it's not the question of what you are doing, because for now it's very popular, like the practices, meditating, retreats, all the others. But people do not understand the main thing, for what you are doing it, which is your goal,
right,
with what you are going inside yourself, which is your question, which is your suffer, which is your stress, I don't know, problem. What is with what you are going, not okay, it's for sure perfect if people do at least just to do. It's also good. But once again, if we're talking about the knowledge that you are coming to make any of the practice, it doesn't, we're now not talking about the deep knowledge how to do it, because it's another level, it's another type of the sessions with us or with the students. But globally, when you're doing at least any types of the meditation, any types of all these practices, just give yourself before which is the goal today. What is my question towards myself? What do I want to at least to give myself? Okay, now I am nervous, I feel stressed because of the situation, because of the news, because of something that's going on around me. I will go to this meditation or this time with myself to make myself more balanced, more harmonized, I don't know, more fulfilled. I give myself these feelings. I try to give, to return them back. So just to sit and trying to catch the imaginations, trying to catch any information. Basically, it's good, but in the end, there is no main sense. So all the actions we do in this life has to have, as I always tell, this is the A, this is the B, like this is the way. What do I want to achieve? At least I want to try it. So that's absolutely, I'm so happy that you are telling about this topic, because the main is the goal. I want to go to study, I don't know, the singing bowls, the sound healing. Why? For what? Which is my goal? I want to study the energetic. I want to study psychology. I want to study meditating. I want to go to yoga. Just put the goal, the main goal. What do I want to achieve? I want to be more balanced. I want to have my body better. I want to be in the harmony with myself. I want to get the knowledge to be more happier in the life, because I don't know how to help myself without the knowledge. At least think about the main goal that you put in the action. And in this case, this action will help you, because the action without the goal, it's a kind of the roulette of your fate, of your karma. Something will work, something will not work, because you are telling, and we're also telling all the time, why people sometimes they see the result. What does it mean? You have the teacher, you have the, doesn't matter, the session or meditation or retreat or something like that. And the time you are spending with the teacher or with the master or with the psychology, for example, you feel good, you feel the result, you feel that something is changing in your life. When you escape from the retreat, from the practice, from the meditating with someone, you return back to your usual situation, to your usual feeling. So what is the goal? Like, if the goal to give yourself the purpose, make the goal to get the knowledge. What we are translating all the time with Yurate, what we are doing all together with you now, we are trying to give a bit more knowledge due to the online world, because people don't have time sometimes even to join us here today. So that's why we're trying to give just a bit more knowledge, that everyone, the situation that they face are normal. You just need to understand what do you want to achieve, because usually, even in my personal coaching, it's so funny, but one of the hardest questions for all people, they could not reply. It could be different people with different level materials, happiness, etc. What do you want? What do you want from this life? What do you want? Which is your desire? Accept the material desire that your head put, like, I want a happy family, I want a kind of the material things. You personally, you inside, what do you want? What for what you are living? What is your idea? What do you want to transfer from yourself? And people, it's so funny. It's so simple. The practice is like they're doing all over the world, like all the coach and psychologists, everyone. Just write down your 100 of desires. It's so simple, like for kids, right? Like write 100 of desires. Honestly, in my practice, people can't do it. People can't do it. I was 7 years ago when my coach gave me this, and I was just like, oh God, it's so simple. Why do I need I'm adult. Why do I need to do such a silly things? But I decided to try. And when I started to put my desires and what is most important in this practice, desires that connect just about that are just about you, not about someone. Not about my father, not about my husband, not about my child, about myself, my own desires. And you think that you desire so much and life is so unhappy or unlucky that you are still not having it. But in the end, you see that your own desires, at least like 3, 5, 10, and then you just stop because you don't know what you want. So it means you don't know your direction in life, what you want to achieve, at least for tomorrow, at least for 1 week ahead, at least for 1 month, at least for February to go to Nepal with us, for example. You don't know. So you just do something all the time, lots of actions every day. You are spending your energy, you're spending your time not understanding for what and why, having a kind of the global idea that I want to achieve one thing, which is basically will give me happiness just in one period, like when I get it, when I finish the project, when I finish, I don't know, the reconstruction of the apartments, I don't know, when I meet the person, then you will achieve the new challenges in the life. So I also recommend people to do such a simple thing that always people are thinking that it will not help. It's so simple. I want something more, how to say, hard to my brain. I want such deep practices. Start with the basic things. Sit today and write down 100 of your desires, your personal desires, which are containing just you, no one else, not your husband, not your child, not your family, just you. What do you want? And you will see that basically after 10th or 15th or 20, you will see that it's a simple desire. For example, I want to go, I don't know, to the forest on the weekends. I want to go, I don't know, on holiday next summer somewhere when I was planning like a few years, but never give myself it. I want to go and teach in a language that I wanted to teach. I want to go and dance for the dance classes at least once a month. I want to make my body better and I want to go, I don't know, to some practices or yoga, just simple things. It will help you to understand, first of all, do you know yourself? How much you know yourself? And what do you really want if there is no one in this world except you? So for whom you live this life? And then you will see with which goals, like the second recommendation that I usually give in coaching. So you have the first, like your desires. Second, I always, as a coach, recommend people try to put when you're going to do it and what do you need to make it, at least one small action. Like if you have a big goal, like that you need time, then you realize, okay, I need at least like few years, but which is my first step? What I will do to get this, to write my book that I'm thinking, to open my YouTube, to, I don't know, to talk to people with my knowledge that they have, which is my first action. What do I want to do? What I will do and when. From this time, you will already start to put the energy inside your goal. Otherwise, you're just going around, you're doing lots of things, you're going to the trips, you're going to the practice, but then you return back and write to your master, to your teacher or someone, oh, it's still the same, I still face my problems. Yes, this is the way. So I think it's also a good advice for the people that will hear us.
Yeah, I totally agree with you because first of all, I think we need to have a purpose. A sense of purpose in life is very important, and that's applicable to every aspect of life, not just in spirituality, but even in our general life. If we don't have a true sense of purpose, then that's where people kind of get lost, when we don't really have a definition of what this life means to us. Am I living my own life or someone else's life? Because especially in contemporary society, um, you know, people sometimes just are doing something that everybody else is doing. They think that maybe it's safe to do so, right? And maybe they have other talents, maybe they have some other ideas they want to pursue, but either they're afraid or they don't want to go beyond that. And because of these reasons, I also feel that many people don't really fulfill their true talents and true goals. So I completely agree with you. And once we have this sort of realization that what is firstly my individual self, sorry, what my individual purpose in this life, what is it that this life means for me, what is it that I want to achieve in this life. Once we have clarity over those topics, then I think it's a little bit more easier to streamline, because then we have at least a concrete idea or some stable idea, at least, of this is what we envision our life to be, and then how we can actualize that. As you said, that maybe some people dream to be a dancer, or they want to be maybe a yoga practitioner or a yoga teacher, or a language teacher, but they're perhaps hiding those aspirations because they're afraid, or they're worried that what society will think of them, what their parents or their spouse will think of them. Oftentimes, we are just worrying about what others will say about us, what the society thinks about us, right? So a lot of our personal dreams and aspirations are crushed because we are putting too much emphasis on the external. And this is also where I can connect our conversation with the Buddhist philosophy that um, we are often, in normal situations, when we put too much emphasis on the external and not the internal, that leads to suffering. And your examples, the conversation we just had, is a clear indication of that. Because a lot of these situations come from external situations, right? When we think too much about what others are going to think, oh, it's definitely not going to work, always worrying that it's just not going to work. Well, what about the inner contemplation? Did you really take a moment to sit with yourself that day and really contemplate what do you really want? Is the life that you're living, is this really your life, or are you living the life to make others happy and sacrificing your own happiness? So when we don't realize that, I also feel that this is where because I observe a lot of Western people who try to practice Buddhism. I mean, I see a lot of them in Nepal or in India. And, one of the key points where many don't get results is this point. I feel that because they haven't really understood who they really are, or it's a way of escaping something. It's a way of, okay, I'm going to be spiritual now. I'm going to Nepal. I'm going to practice Buddhism. I'm going to practice a retreat. Maybe it will solve all my problems. But it doesn't, because
Yes,
the core
this is,
question.
this is the very key point that you're telling, and we also are trying to tell to the all people. So I will take also the word to make the note how it's important. People usually escape. They usually try to escape from all their problems. It doesn't matter how. They escape for work. They escape and make the thing they need to do, like outside the home, outside the work. So they make lots of actions, once again, that they really don't need because they're trying to escape. They try to escape of the problems in family. They try to escape of the problems in their work because they could not solve it. They try to escape themselves because they're afraid and they feel, because we usually, even if you're not connected with yourself, you always feel yourself. You always feel when you're going not the right path. You feel it like, I'm doing something wrong. I know that something is wrong. I know that I'm now in the place, situation, work, people, community, relationship where I don't want to be, but I don't know how to manage it. That's why I'm always trying to escape. It doesn't matter where. The second, the great illusion that lots of people, they love to travel. Absolutely, yes. I am more than sure that every person in this world beautiful want to see another countries, another cultures, but very often people travel not because of the traveling and to know the country, to know the place, to know the culture, to know where you get to be inside with all this. They travel just to escape, as you were telling, especially to such places where you live and where we also are going to guide the people, but it will be another type of the guide. It's not about the travel and tourism. It's not about this. We need and we want to announce, okay, if now we're talking about it, so we want to announce our trip that we're going to make all together, and that we're now searching for the people who want to go with us with Yurata, because we're interested in the culture, we're interested in the place, we're interested in what we can really practice there. Not about just to see, it's not about the online world to make the picture. It's a journey of your soul, of your spirit, with the teachers, with the people that you want to be near, and to share this together knowledge. It's a very different type of the way. So for us, what I'm trying to say, that it's always continue your thought, that people sometimes they travel just to travel to escape. So look how it works. People work hard every day. They do lots of actions that they don't want to do. They don't want to work in this work. They don't want to speak with these people. They don't want to do this job. They are not okay with their condition. Doesn't matter. They do lots of actions that harm themselves. It means they are violent. Continue our first session. They are violent to themselves. In this case, they have a feeling, because this body has the structure, this body has the feelings, this body has the processes that are going inside it because of the hormones, because of our like inside structure, like the organs and everything, like the anger, like the sadness, that I feel disconnected with my soul. I'm doing something, I don't know why, but I feel that something is wrong. I cannot understand what is wrong. The wrong is always, I'm making the long therapy now for the people shorter, and telling that the wrong is just one thing. You feel that your past is not the past you are living today's life. It means that first of all, that you can give yourself, before going to Nepal, before searching the teachers, before going to practices, before making all these info courses, etc., spending your money, just sit down with yourself. Just try to ask yourself what I really want. Just try to make this list of your own desires, your real desires. You can also make the second thing. It's very easy also in the coaching. Your desires, like which life I want to live, what I want to be in this life. Once again, it's very important. We are always putting there the information about ourselves. People don't notice that they put information about everyone they love. For example, in my life, I want my family be happy and healthy. I want my husband to reach his, I don't know, good salary. My children go to this. No, you are the only university to yourself. So first of all, what you're doing, you describe your life that you want to live, your own life without no one. I want to feel harmony inside myself. I want to earn a certain money. Okay, this is also the desire. I want to have this type of the relations. For example, I want to feel in my partnership with a man or woman, I don't know, trust, happiness, desire, doesn't matter. You need to describe your real life that you want to live. Then, which is very easy and which we are all doing with the coach and psychologist, we're trying to each session show the people where they are for now. So you're doing the second, how to say it, column. My English, it's not that perfect in all the terms I want to express, but I'm trying. I think this is also the new for me, this fear. But you are making the second column. How look like my life now? And you see that I want to be harmony and balance. I'm disharmony. I feel sadness. I feel, I don't know, nervous. I feel lots of things. You need to realize where you are for now. It's the first thing you can give to yourself. It's very easy. Don't run and rush for studies, for spending money, and then telling the masters, the people, the teachers that there is no result. It's not about there is no result. It's about there is the result, but you don't want even, and you don't have a goal to achieve it. So first of all, just the free recommendations here in this YouTube, in this session, not spending your money, not going to Nepal just to escape, to search the happiness of your problems, not going to Yurata or to me or to Irina or to someone from our master just to solve some of your problems. It will be solved just on the period of the session, but the main that could give any of the master is the idea how at home any of the people living in this world can start to hear themselves. So first, what we are doing, we are describing the life we want to live. We're describing the life that we really have for now. Then the third one, we return back to the desires, our own desires. They're very simple. When you start to make 100 desires, guys, 100, you think you have a lot of desires. It's not true. On the 15th or 20th, you'll just like, that's all I want from my life. That's all, this 10 or 7 things, that's all. It's easy because the brain thinks that you need a lot. You need a lot of things in this life. That's not true. Like I'm from Ukraine. What's the war show all of us? You need nothing except your body and your life. Nothing. Not the house, not the material things, not the job, nothing. Just to be alive. This every day is the bless. You are alive. It means you have the machine that we're calling the body, that we have to love, to respect, and to hear. Otherwise, there is no sense to drive this car or giving the idea that your body doesn't work or it's not doing something you need. And in the end, you will realize that your desires that will make you happy, they're so small. For example, Yurata, like take a few days for even us, accept our project and everything, and read the book. Just to read the book, how happy we can be just to read the book that we want, just to see maybe the film which was produced like in 1850s, for example, with the perfect cinematography that we still have not seen. The small desires will try to give you the idea where you are, what you really want, and then how can I get it? Which the actions will be to get it. If in your desires, for example, there is the idea that you want to grow with your knowledge, with how be with yourself, how to teach this harmony yourself, how to meditate, how to be more happier, how to feel it. In this case, you will always find the information, the master, the teacher, or for example, the journey that you can join. So if now we're having to talk about it, so I think it's the time to announce that we are announcing our tour to Nepal, and it's very important. Maybe Padma, you will have like 5 minutes to tell about it to the people that will hear. And I want to say one thing: we don't have the exact dates, right? Because this is the main, it's our journey with Yurata that we are going to go, and where we invite our friends, where we invite our students, our friends, people who are interested in the same thing as us. Knowledge, not just to go and to see Nepal, to make pictures, to buy souvenirs. It's also perfect, it's a human life, but we want to see something that you as a master will show us when we're going there. And the main thing I want to tell that would love to fly there in the end of the February, beginning of the March, because Padma was telling us that it's the unique time of all the year. In the 28th of February, if I'm right, Padma, it's the Tibetan New Year. So you can just imagine which types of the energy, of the practices, of the people that will be before this date and after this date and during this date. So if to make it, like, I think that it's the best time to make it all together. So if there will be people who will be listening us to the YouTube, who will connect us through different type of the ways, and they will hear it. You can write us down regarding these 3, because we have all the information. There is 2 packages, and maybe you have like few minutes to give this idea, to describe these packages, and we will give this information in Namai, like separately, like a video, to people to understand, because there is one package which is absolutely unique for me, because in this package it's the 3 days retreat in the medical center of the Tibet. So I want you to tell this, just the difference, and people maybe they will understand what is the journey they could be part of with us. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. And I feel immense joy, pleasure, and honor in announcing this beautiful collaboration with you all. And as you were saying, that this is going to be a sacred journey. So the term that traditionally is used is called pilgrimage. It's not a tour, but pilgrimage, wherein we go to sacred sites, to sacred places. Doesn't matter just Nepal or different parts of the world, but it's a journey of self-discovery. It's a journey of self-healing. The external sites, now, because we're talking about Nepal, so I will stick to that. So by going to these sacred Buddhist sites of Nepal, where I will lead profound meditations and, of course, help people connect with the sacred sites. But the point is not just the external. The main point is the transformation process, the growth process that each and every individual, each and every participant of the pilgrimage journey will undergo. Because during my pilgrimages, I specialize in this mainly. So I always inform students or people who come for the first time that pilgrimage is basically a reflection of your own wisdom. Like the sacred sites that we visit, yes, they can look beautiful, they have stunning architecture, ancient history, amazing power, but that's like the stage, that's the stage where the inner work starts happening. Because when you are in those sacred sites, they help us, because it's a space where we can feel safe. It's a space where we can find that connection that maybe we don't see in a concrete jungle, for example. That's true. But once we receive a transmission, once we receive an initiation in those sacred sites with masters like myself or others, then it's also possible to go back to our ordinary day-to-day life, and what we learn from those experiences, we can also integrate them into our daily life. So I will also teach that, of course. And now, as far as the pilgrimage programs are concerned, so we have 2 tiers. One first tier is more of like, a package where people want to mainly experience, and they, of course, want to go and practice, but maybe they're not super ready for a very deep immersion. They want to perhaps experience, learn some techniques, and that's okay for them. We have one package that includes a visit to a monastery in Nepal, in the mountains. And we have another, you could say, more advanced package wherein, as Alina was saying, that we have, in addition to the sacred sites that we'll be visiting and I'll be teaching there, we have a very in-depth retreat at a traditional healing center. It's a Tibetan, not only medical center, but it's based on basic wellness, basic general wellness, the physical wellness, physiological wellness, psychological wellness, with a very accomplished Tibetan doctor and yogi who's a very good friend of mine, and I lead retreats with them. So basically, it will be a combination of both the body and the mind, body or soul, if you want to call it. The body practices will be taught by him. Also will include consultations by checking the pulse. It's a very ancient Tibetan method, diagnosing what is really going on inside a subtle body or physiological body, and the doctor giving us recommendations, what kind of diets we can have. Or they also have amazing herbs, alchemical herbs that they make themselves according to very ancient techniques, unchanged, unbroken, even in this modern times, which are mainly focused on the general healing, the general well-being of not only our body, but our souls, of our mind. This is where Tibetan medicine is quite unique, that it's not only diagnosing the problem, but it's diagnosing the root cause, the underlying cause, and how to work with that cause, how to transform that from suffering into wisdom. And of course, at the same retreat center, I'll also be giving teachings and guided meditations, purification rituals according to the profound tantric meditation. So it's going to be a very inclusive, wholesome package within 8 to 9 days, where people can receive a lot of profound instructions, a lot of life healing, life transforming practices, both on a body level and mind level. So I'm really excited to announce this with you today.
Thank you. We're also happy to announce it. We were not planning to do it today, honestly. It's just the way the talk was going. So, guys, all people that will be watching us or listening us, our friends, already the students of Namai or friends of Namai or masters, we're ready to announce this trip together, where Padma will lead us. It's really the sacred trip. It's really the pilgrimage when you are searching for something which is more deeper, which is more advanced. So there will be the two packages which are different. And we will try to make very easy for the people. I will try to do maybe with this video kind of the link to the Telegram group or something, and other people could get this presentation if they want to see what's inside, how they can contact us. So we will try to do it, and you can check the description to this video. At least we will leave there the link to our Telegram group with the Ankit, because if we have there any sessions, any chanting, meditation, or everything, so you can just join our group and you will see there all the presentation, all the information about the dates, about the group, and just ask there any questions. So if you want to travel with us, first of all, to find yourself or to improve yourself and to return back with the techniques, it's important that you will use in your life. It's not about just making the practices and returning back home, not understanding why you were there. It's not about just getting some knowledge, don't understand how to put it inside your real life. I think our main goal as Yurate and Alina and Padma that will be with us and guided, first of all, us as the students in this case also. So is the main idea to give you the tools and the knowledge that if you're going to use in your real life, you will get this happier and more harmony life, understanding better yourself. So you will understand what basically, if you will try to do in your life, you will get the way you want it to be, or you want it to, how your life you want to look like, let's say like this. So we're really happy and try to do everything in the description. So I think we're also can finish for today. In order not to make it long, we have the next session that will be in 1 week also. So we're ready for the people who want to be online or who want to sit and to look the YouTube after. It's up to you. And thank you so much for today. I want also Yurata say some words in Lithuanian, maybe as a description. Yurata, I will go to Russian. Yurata, я бы очень хотела, чтобы ты закончила это на литовском, немножко даже там 5, 7, 10 минут для наших слушателей, кто говорит по-литовскому, о том, о чем мы говорили, о том, что мы приглашаем их сегодня, и мы сегодня анонсируем, так случайно получилось, непланово в нашем эфире, о нашем путешествии в Непал. Я говорила о том, что это путешествие, в которое мы, в первую очередь, с тобой, будучи учителями и учениками, в данном случае нашего мастера, мы хотим поехать для чего? Для того, чтобы найти ответы на многие свои вопросы, обрести новые знания, обрести новые практики, поделиться ими с людьми. И одно из вещей, о которых я говорила, что суть данного путешествия, лично скажу от себя, в том, чтобы люди, которые поехали с нами, они приехали домой непосредственно со знаниями о том, как эти знания интегрировать в их обыденной жизни, начиная от практик, заканчивая вообще знанием о самом себе, что поможет им достичь той жизни, которую они ищут или хотят, и те намерения, те желания, которые у них есть. Поэтому буду рада, если ты завершишь, как и начинала сегодняшний наш YouTube-выпуск, на любом языке, на котором ты захочешь.
Ну, я продолжу по-литовски. По-украински еще не умею, но будем учиться. Aš turbūt lietuviškai pratęsiu, kas šiandien dalyvavo mūsų online pamokoje sesijoje ir klausysis video. Bet anglų kalbą turbūt visi suprantat ir supratot, apie ką yra kalbama. Mes turbūt įdėsim ir subtitrus, kad tas žinojimas, supratimas būtų labai aiškus, apie ką šiandien kalbėjau. Iš tikrųjų buvo nuostabi antroji pamoka apie tradicinį budizmą. Ir tokia gavosi diskusija irgi graži bendra su Alina ir su Padma. Bendrojais klausimais, kodėl mums tai rūpi, kodėl mes šią laidą darome, kodėl mes tuos tiltus norime tęsti. Ir buvo anonsas, kelionė į Nepalą. Įsiklausykite, bus nuorodos, informacija visa apie, yra keli, jeigu galėjot suprasti, yra keli variantai. Galbūt viena grupė važiuoja, kuri dar neturi, sakysime, gilių praktikų, aplankys Nepale visus ir svarbės vietas aplankys, o antra grupė jau, ir kaip minėjo pats Padma ir Alina, kad jau yra gilesnės žinios, yra gilesnės praktikos, jūs grįžtate visi su žiniomis. Padma mums pasakojo, kaip yra, kokias praktikas būtų galima daryti ir kokias mes mokysimės ir kokias mums parodys. Tai aš asmeniškai pati labai praktikuoju, sakysim, galbūt nuo mažų dienų, kaip ir čia minėjau, įsiterpsiu savo asmenę patirtimi nuo vaikystės, kai ir, sakysim, ant žolės guli ir jūroje basom kojom vaikštai, tai yra jau mūsų meditacija, tai yra buvimas su savimi, tai yra suvokimas, tai yra tyrinėjimas pasaulio. Tai yra ta visa, sakysime, sakralinė informacija, visa, kuri yra su mumise. Tai tiek metų praktikuojant, galima sakyti, eini vis giliau ir giliau. Tai grupė, kuri turi patirties ir iš tikrųjų nori patirti iš vietinių meistrų, iš Padma, kurių dar kelias paskaitas girdėsite prieš išvažiavimą. Tikrai rekomenduoju, nors galbūt dauguma irgi turi savo mokytojų, vedlių ir knygas skaito, vis tiek prisijungti ir patirti savo kelionę su bendraminčiais, būti kartu. Visą informaciją gausit Namai of Creators. Tenais bus, jeigu kas nerandat, parašykite asmenį žinutę, telefonus ir gausit daugiau informacijos. Laukime kito karto, iki kito karto. Namaste.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So thank you so much for finishing for today, and wait you in 1 week, or it doesn't matter when you will be watching this video on YouTube, maybe in 1 year, in 5 years, who knows. We make a step in our own history of the life, just sharing knowledge with you. So every person that was having the question for which in this video was the answer, he will find in any way this video. So in the end, we did something that the main goal for us, like Yurata, Alina, and Padma, of this project together, like Ukraine, Lithuania, Nepal, we're all together sharing the knowledge in different languages. This could be very strange. We're talking in English, then in Russian, then we can speak Ukrainian, we're speaking Lithuanian. So it doesn't matter in which language you will watch it, because in the end, the main is about what you feel. Even if you don't understand, I'm telling lots of people that if you don't understand English or Lithuanian, just watch. And in the end, you will feel your answer, because when we connect with the master, it doesn't matter which type of the master. We're working with the energy and with the field. So in the end, you will feel it. Same was telling Yurata after the practice that you are giving, because basically I was here for a long time, but I was not interrupting your session. And also I noted after the last meditation that you gave about love for everyone and all this, that there was really the desire to be silent. It was hard to return with the words and to talk about something. It means that you can feel even more and better in this life than you think through the brain and through the mind.
Right.
So just feel your life, feel yourself. If you do our recommendation from this video, you will be more happier, believe me, I'm more than sure. You will get the new path and the harmony and the step that you want to find or you are searching for. So, and we're waiting for you or in Namai, or depends in our direct, in our YouTube, in our Telegram, and then we hope to go together to Nepal and to make this amazing journey, first of all for ourselves, and then with the friends, with each person that want to be a part of this amazing journey. So thank you all and see you in 1 week.
Thank you. Have a lovely evening. See you soon. Bye for now.
See you soon. Bye.